So hello everybody, and it's really great to see you all here. Before I start, I'd like to thank the whole team of collaborators who've been part of the team, which I've also been part of, who've worked on this project over the last year or more. Most importantly, the project's been a collaboration between Vitas Luckus Photography Centre, Lithuanian Association of Photographers, University for the Creative Arts at Farnham, and Photography of the Archive Research Centre at University of the Arts London. And within those organisations and groups, there are a whole series of individuals, and I'd very much like to name them now, because it's very important to know who's been involved in this project. So these people I'd like to thank for working together so well to produce this exciting programme. So we have Yeva Mayute Svenkunina, who's the director of Vitas Luckus Photography Centre, Agne Nereshita, who's associate professor from Vilnius Academy of Arts, Ginteras Chestonis, who's the chairperson of Lithuanian Association of Photographers, Val Williams, director of PARC and professor of History and Culture of Photography at University of the Arts London, Grace Lau, independent photographer, Jean Wainwright, Professor of Photography and Contemporary Art at the University of the Creative Arts, and Maria Kapaiva, who's a lecturer at University of the Creative Arts as well, and myself as part of the team. And also importantly, this has all been made possible through the generosity of the National Gallery of Art in giving us this wonderful space to hold the conference in. There's also a really interesting book display, books by women photographers and artists, organised by the Croatian Photography Festival Organ Vida. And last but not least, to thank the sponsors, who are University for the Creative Arts, Photography in the Archive Research Centre, Ministry of Culture of the Republic of Lithuania, and Lithuania Council for Culture. Sorry, that was a bit of a mouthful. So what I'm doing here is talking about the history of the Fast Forward project. So in 2013, some years back, myself and another colleague from UCA, Karen Noor, were conversing about the situation for women photographers, and both of us have been fairly successful in our field, but we were really shocked by the fact that to think that we were educating so many young women students in our photography classes, yet still when we looked around us in the world, there were not enough women becoming successful as photographers. So these are some of the questions that we started to ask ourselves. We went back to our university and we had a discussion with the head of school, Sarah Jeans, who agreed that it was an interesting project and that we would all approach Tate Modern for a discussion about a possible exhibition, book, conference, see what they might be interested in. We also started having conversations with people around the world about networking, about what we could do, and thinking about what it would mean to do something about women in photography with various different people. So the networking and the conversations were really important factors in the development of this project. Just thinking about some of the things we started to look at, and there isn't any real research on the sort of lack of women in terms of facts and figures, but these are two key exhibitions that have happened in the UK. In 1989, at the Royal Academy, The Art of Photography, there were 98 photographers in this show, wonderful picture of a woman on the cover, only 4 women photographers in the whole show. Then in 2003, Cruel and Tender was the first major photography show at Tate Modern, or collective photography show. There were 24 photographers, and it was contemporary photography, and 3 of these were women. Having said that, Tate Modern only got its first photography curator in 2009, and it is now committed to exhibiting 50% women in all its shows, apparently. So then our head of school employed Maria Kapaiva as a researcher on the project, and Maria came up with this wonderful map, which is just a starting point to think about histories of women around the globe, and something I think that she's sort of, sorry, you probably can't see it properly, but she's charting various women in different parts of the world, and it's something that I think that somebody or ourselves could take forward at some point in creating to some digital history mapping. So in 2014, we had a kind of test panel at Tate Modern. I think really Tate probably wanted to test the idea and see, what the interest was. So we invited some very key speakers, Brett Rogers from the Photographers Gallery, Val Williams from Photography and the Artist Research Centre, Rosangela Reno, a very famous artist from Brazil, Claire Strand, an artist from the UK. And it was a sold-out event. There were lots of discussion afterwards, and the Tate then committed itself to a larger conference. And we, the group of us, started further conversations with Photography in the Archive Research Centre, with Val Williams and her colleagues, with other people around the world about possible future collaborations, with Susan Collins, who's the head of School of Fine Arts Slade, about a networking project. And again, basically I want to emphasise the importance of these conversations, because it's through the conversations that all the Fast Forward projects have grown out of. Between the panel and the first conference at Tate Modern, Maria Kapaiva started our Instagram feed, Women in Photo, and this has been incredibly popular. I don't know how many followers we have now, but we had 6,500. That's 6,500, isn't it? Yes, 6,500. It's really interesting. Lots of different people take over. I think if you're interested in doing a takeover, you ought to talk to Maria, because she's always looking for people to do it. So in 2015, we had our first full conference at Tate Modern, collaborating with Tate, with PARC, and with UCA. It was a really interesting event. It was these are the collaborators who worked on the project together. And again, today is the result of a really interesting collaboration, and it's about bringing things, ideas, and funding, and knowledge together through collaboration. We had a fantastic list of speakers, with Liz Wells as a keynote, who delivered a really interesting sort of overview of what had happened for women in photography over since, I can't remember when she started actually, but she talked about the festivals that had happened, the books that had come out, and then we had panels like, discussion panels like we're going to have here. There was a lot of things came out after the conference, which were interesting. So magazines and journals responded to the project, and again, we hope that this will happen here as well. And we started the Fast Forward website at UCA, which is a kind of a centre point for all the activities, and is constantly something that's in development. As well, straight after the Tate conference in 2015, I was awarded a Leader Hume Trust grant to work with 6 or 7 partners around the globe, 7 partners including University of Creative Arts, who are all marked here, and it's all noted on the website, to run a series of research workshops on women in photography. So in each location we gather one member from each of the partners and a local group to come and to present and discuss ideas, with the idea of coming up with things that need to be done and could be done as a result of these partnerships. So we're thinking about mentorship programs, we're thinking about online conversations, we're thinking about group collaborative projects and further research applications. So the website has a series of pages. Here is the project page. There's a gallery page. Again, if people want to submit work to the gallery, it hasn't moved on for a while. I would very much like to see work that could be submitted to either Maria or I. It has an events page. It has a journal page. It has an opportunities page. And again, if anybody has opportunities they want to advertise on this, we'd very much like to make this a much more international site. So what is it that's needed? What's needed more of? Looking back, these are some of the absolutely key publications on women in photography. And we had an interesting discussion last night about women in publishing, where we talked about the Girl on Girl book, which I think will be in the display, the Organ Vida display. So there's a history of these publications dating back to, I can't remember where The Women's Eye was published, but Val Williams' book, Women Photographers, was published in 1986, which was about the time that I graduated. And it was a real eye-opener to me at that particular time, to actually think about the subject of women photographers. There's also a whole series of networks. What are they called? Can't think of the name of them, sorry. Collectives, thank you. God, it went from my head. And it's really interesting. I've started collecting information on the various women collectives all around the world. And one of the questions raised possibly in the workshops or in this conference is there some reason that or good ideas for making these collectives actually work together through some kind of platform? Would that be helpful? Would other things be achievable? So here we are at the National Gallery of Art in Vilnius. It's very exciting. It's a great dramatic photograph. You know, we have, again, through our networking and conversations, we're already in conversation with several other organisations around the globe who are interested in doing fast-forward conferences in Sweden, in Japan, in China, and in Portugal at the moment, possibly France. And as well, the Tate Modern have announced that they will do the third Fast Forward conference in London in 2019. And it's pretty rare for the Tate to do two things the same. They like to do a new thing all the time. So what next? We have our research workshops, which you can read all about on the website. And we're interested, so far, the discussions in the research workshops have led to thinking about mentorship and collaborative storytelling projects. So again, those could come out on the Fast Forward website. With further conferences that I've just mentioned, we have interest from the Shanghai Centre of Photography to launch the the Emerging Women Mentorship Programme, and interest from the British Council as well to support that both in China and Africa. The 2019 Tate Conference, and please look out for the call for abstracts, because again, we really want this to be truly international conference in London. And possible further research bids and collaboration. What's possible and who's interested? So I thought this was quite important that across the globe, powerful people are talking about inclusivity, equality, and rights for women. Somebody moaned to me the other day, they turn on the radio and all they hear is women, women, women. And I said, great, that's what we need. And recent enthusiasm in the UK has promoted new initiatives, so we need to positively and publicly identify where things are improving across the globe and how to benefit from these improvements collaboratively. So, there we go. I don't know if I've been 10 minutes.